Hi, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
I'm Angela Clark, and this is my husband, Dan
How you
Clark.
doing?
And I am an ex-worldwide cult survivor. And actually, I was put out of the church in 1982. And I want to just tell you super fast what did happen. But I lived in Denver. Garner Ted Armstrong came to Denver after several years and wanted to tell his side of the story. So I thought it made sense that that sounded like reasonable to me, that I should listen so that I'd know the other side, right? Well, they marked everyone that was present at that meeting, about 40 of us, and we were promptly excommunicated. And at that time, I was 21, and I had a little brand newborn baby. And because of the fact that I was building a home, really busy doing all of that, I just sort of just decided to ignore it and went on my business. And so what I want to talk to you today about is that was 1982, by the way, that happened to me. So I've been out for a while, and I started a new channel, this one that you're on right now. And I have some reservation about it because I've been out for so long and just trying to wrap my head back around some of the things that I've overcome since I got out. It's been quite a while for me. And not only that, but I got into a secondary cult that took me down pretty good. And at the end of all of that, I had fibromyalgia, PTSD, and I met Dan at that point. And so I was pretty messed up. And so I just want to tell you, the first thing that happened to me is that I was attracted to a book called Boundaries. And I forgot the name of the actual author, but really any of the Boundaries books I think are pretty good. Don't you agree with that,
really
Dan?
good books.
Yeah. And so I read that book. I didn't like it. I remember laying on my bed being furious about it because it hit home so much. It was like, oh my gosh, my family does it all wrong. I was so upset. And I thought, why do we not know these things? I mean, my mother, she had no boundaries whatsoever. I feel like we learned this in Worldwide, to not have proper boundaries with people. And so, like, she would put her back up against Dan's back when she's looking at something at the computer and not concerned for this area right here that shouldn't be touching his back. Do you see what I mean? Let's say that I don't want to talk about religion anymore because I've been out for a lot of years and I have to move back in with her for a while after I was going through a divorce. And she insists, after I insist myself, that I don't want to talk about it. But she wasn't going to say no, was she, Dan?
No, and it's kind of like if you're in a bar and a guy is throwing sexual innuendos at you, saying, you'd be good in the bedroom, boy, you're really cute, I wouldn't kick you off the couch. That would be a time for a woman to set up a boundary. They call them boundaries. When you say, don't do that, don't say that, don't make those innuendos, don't tell me I would be good in the bed or whatever it is. But this boundaries thing is huge because, like I said, her mother would just jump in the bedroom, violate her quiet time. She's trying to be quiet, trying to rest, and she would barge in and just open the door and want to talk. And Angela would say no, and she'd want to talk about religion, and Angela didn't want to talk about religion because she had been in that religion. So this book, Boundaries, tells you how you can put a line in the sand. You could say, no, you're not going to cross over that. We're not talking about religion, right?
Yeah, let's just say the one time I was in my bedroom that I just acquired from my mother. Oh, there goes the lamp. But anyway, I got my bedroom. I went in on it my very first day. I'm praying, trying to pour out my heart to God about what's just happened. I've just filed for divorce. I'm really sad. And in comes my mother, sees I'm praying, sits on the bed, and doesn't even say, oh, I'm sorry, were you praying? Obviously I was. And these kind of things kept happening. And Dan's like, Angela, aren't you going to put the those boundaries you just learned in that book, and aren't you going to put it in order and say something to your mother about that? I'm like, what? Are you serious? Oh my gosh, I have to say something to my mother about this? He goes, well, You're just learning about this. Doesn't that make sense? I'm like, oh my gosh. So here's the codependent behavior coming out of me because I've never spoken up. In the Worldwide, first of all, children were to be seen and not heard. Your opinion doesn't matter. In my family of origin, my mother, after my dad left, became the man of the family, I guess you would say. And what mom says, you better do it or else. So you don't argue. You don't complain. You don't have a voice. If you say something that you see is wrong, she's going to tell you that you're seeing it wrong. And I just learned you just shut up. So I was very codependent, which means that I don't have my voice. I don't know how to say no. I don't know how to say, Mom, please, can you, let her know how I feel. Please don't walk in the bedroom when I'm praying. And if you see my door shut, please do not enter.
Or knock.
Right, or knock. I just couldn't say it. So I had to literally say, Mom, after Dan had coached me as my brand new friend, you need to say something. So I had to say, Mom, could you please not, and state that fact. I'm just asking you, please do not, this is a line in the sand, please do not enter if you see the door shut. Please do not enter. Please not.
Respect my space.
Right, respect my space. She even one time walked in the bathroom while I was going to the bathroom early on. And I had to say, Mom, please don't come in the bathroom. When these are the kinds of things that we have to say.
And they're not easy.
No.
Because people don't like it. When you first set a boundary, they think, who do you think you are?
That is exactly right.
Don't stand up to me. Don't you tell me. You're my... And it's like, no, I'm an adult now. And this is a boundary.
Right.
Don't get too close to me. Don't talk to me too close. Get back. Get away. You're setting boundaries, and so this is a tool that you need.
Yeah, it really is. And I think to myself, why did we not learn this in our church? I went to Imperial Elementary School from 1st through 7th grade, so I got my formative years all done in the Worldwide Church of God. But I'm going to tell you what, guys, even the women, they did not have a voice. I mean, to me, my mom, she had 6 children, and I do not remember my dad helping her with the kids, except for maybe at church, maybe to take us on a hike, the older ones of us on a hike, just to get us out of her hair kind of a thing. Maybe we'd work in the yard. But other than that, my mother had full responsibility with me as the oldest helping her, but he didn't lift a finger. She was just there to keep the house straight, feed the babies, and spread her legs at night. I'm sorry to say it that way, guys, but I feel like my dad was a male chauvinist, and my mom didn't have a voice. So don't you suppose that came on me? I'm a woman without a voice. We don't have an opinion, So my mother ended up flipping to the other side of things when they got divorced, and she became real authoritarian, really weird. I mean, she went from humble and submissive, which she talked about all the time, into saying she's humble and submissive and she believes in it, to being very much the man and wearing the pants in the family. That's how that flipped. And really very opinionated and, gosh,
it could
bad
be the
manners.
Oppressed becoming the oppressor.
I know, that's what I was.
When you've been
right.
beaten for a long time, and then all of a sudden you grab the whip.
Yes.
You want to beat the people with the whip.
Right.
The oppressed. All of a sudden
the oppressed
they've got
become
the
the
power,
oppressor. That's
and you
right.
want to abuse those others.
Yes,
so.
That's why I wanted to bring that up. Thank you for clearing that, because that's just why I wanted to bring it up. So that was not fun for me, but interesting watching my mother begin to wear the pants in the family, because that's not how I was raised.
It's not what the church taught either.
No, it absolutely was not. But she did get out for a while. I think she's basically back in under the Church of God International with my brother, and Masonic kind of mixed up in all of that. She's kind of a rebel, really, but that upbringing, it was something else. That. Again, the women were just not treated as equals with the man, not at all. They're not smart. They don't have their own brains. They don't have anything to say. Women are not teachers up on the stage, this kind of thing. They're really less than the man, for sure. So yeah, I didn't like that. So my mother was very much codependent on my father, because whatever he said, she must do. Whatever he felt, she must do. Whatever he wanted to do with the family budget. Like one time, my mother was going through a really tight budget, and then the car breaks down. Where's the money going to come out of it? Oh, it's going to come out of your groceries. He didn't care what that meant. She had to do everything crazy to somehow keep food on the table during that time. Anyway, that's codependent. When you're worried about what someone else thinks, you don't have a voice to speak. Yeah, but honey, you decided to buy that camper. Why does it always have to come out of my food budget? You know what I mean? Never allowed to say these kinds of things. She just holds it in like resentment, and resentment turns into hate, to bitterness. Bitterness, once you get that, oh my gosh, then it turns into hatred eventually. And if you don't get it under control after that, it becomes these murderous kinds of thoughts that mean that you play horrible games with people just to hurt them because you could. And you don't wish them well.
Or you're always whining. They say it's anger coming out of a small hole. You get filled with resentment. So what you do is you just complain to everybody. So whenever people see you, it's like a whining, like a balloon that's filled to capacity, which is inside of you, where you're ready to explode, but it comes out like a whine. Like if you ever take a balloon and fill it with air and then pull the thing, it sings, but it's annoying. So we become whiners.
And when I was at the end of my relationship with my 22 marriage to my first husband, in the end I was whining a good bit. it was this anger, a lot.
Too.
Yeah, I was going victim mode for sure.
Poor
definitely.
Me. Let me tell you my story.
Me. Yeah, and life was unfair, and I had been treated wrong, and I can't seem to fix it as hard as I try, even though I know it's all my fault. But I'm mad, and it's just anger coming out of this little hole. Why? Because even in my marriage then to that first husband, we had the same dang rule. He had the same rule in his family that you don't speak out what bothers you. That's codependent. If you can't speak out what's bothering you on a regular basis, I say daily, as it comes up, not holding it in like a volcano and exploding. You have to say it as things come along. You have to learn. And it's hard at first because you think, I need to say something. I read it in that book.
Oh my God.
But, they're going to be mad.
You got to do it anyway.
Yeah, you got to do it anyway. That's exactly right. Because what happens if you don't? Mm-hmm. Let's just talk about what happens if you don't. So you guys, here's the thing. If you don't, you enable that behavior to continue going on. So let's say someone disrespects you like all the time. They cut you down. They tell you you're a fat ass, or I don't know. You come up with that dumb
pushing you, or hitting you.
Yeah, he's smacking you somehow. He's stupid. This kind of thing.
More and more aggressive.
It does, because the rule is abuse always continues to escalate. So if you know this, I'm telling you it right now, it never stays the same. You just don't notice it's escalating a little bit worse every year. And then your self-esteem is plummeting, your self-worth plummeting, your respect for yourself, your honor for yourself plummeting. You don't even notice it. It's just slowly coming in more often, more worse. Maybe start getting beatings, and you just don't even really notice it. You think you deserve it. Everything's always my fault. I'm always the problem. I don't have an opinion. Anyway, those old programs are running in the background from what we were raised in worldwide. Children to be seen and not heard, and women have no opinion. They're just a good sex object, and they're brainless. Really, I'm sorry to be raw about this, but this is how I feel about it. I really do.
And a lot of it's to do with the church, how it's set up. With the structure, the head of every woman is a man, the head of man is a Christ. So man is right under Christ in the Bible, and then women are down here, and they are to be in subjection. And a lot of women don't realize that subjection doesn't mean being abused. Subjection doesn't mean you're just the one to pick up my dirty socks and cook and have sex, like Angela said. That's thankless work. A man can do that work too. But unfortunately, for a long time, both of us were in those religions where it was authoritarian. It was male-dominated religion.
Yeah.
And so a woman just becomes a slave. That's why Oprah's show became so big, because when this dictatorial man left the woman didn't know who she was anymore. And so Angela, when she was spit out, her husband found somebody else and moved on. Angela was spit out, and she's like, well, who am I? I don't know who I am.
Yes.
I don't know what food I like, right?
Right. So that's one of the codependent traits. You don't know what you like. You don't know what you think. You don't have your own opinion about things. You sort of morphed into your husband as a woman. Okay, I'm speaking for the women.
To become one, yeah.
Yes, and so, but it was very unhealthily, because it should be like this. I have an opinion, and it might be different than his opinion. And we respect each other's opinions, but I'm allowed to have mine and he's allowed to have hers.
Yeah.
But see, in an enmeshment, call it an enmeshment,
where
the woman becomes enmeshed in the man, and so she loses her dreams. They just kind of morph into his dreams and what he wants to do, and her ideas, her opinions about things just morphs into what he believes, or the church has taught you to believe, and you don't have your own opinion. You don't even go looking. You hear an article, or so you hear somebody talking in the neighborhood, you don't go there, because if you bring it up, you will be chastised, because that's not what we believe. And you're not allowed to have an opinion. So I got out and I'm like, oh, how would you like your eggs? I'm like, oh my gosh, I can make my eggs however I want. I don't have to make them the way my husband likes them. And I could do my own thing. What kind of movie do I want? What kind of restaurant do I want to go to? It was always, if I ever said, if he'd say, my husband would say to me, where would you like to go to eat? And I remember this one time that he did, and towards the end, and I'm like, oh, I think I'd like to go to that restaurant that's called the Mexican restaurant over there. And what did we do? Did we go there? No. We went to the restaurant he wanted to go to. He didn't even say anything. We just went there. It's like, you know what? What's the point of even having an opinion? It gets me nowhere. And
I just want to say, these things can carry over in your life. Like Angela's, that personality, that way, kind of carried over to me. And I remember one time we were writing books, and she was helping me write a book. We wrote like 3 books together. But then one day she wanted to do an album. And I said, well, go do an album. And she said, well, we don't have the money. And I said, well, we have the money for me to write a book. We have money for me to write 3 books. Why can't we do an album? But she wasn't used to saying, I have a dream. I have something I want to do in this life. I have gifts. She had gifts. She is a singer. She has a beautiful voice. And I said to myself, do an album. Do an album. The money will come. It'll come. And sure enough, it came. And she got to go in that studio and be who she was meant to be. She was good in that studio. She could hear all those notes. They were so impressed when she was doing her thing. And she didn't do just a little album. She did a fine album. She knew what it would take to make it the best album. She hired musicians. She hired cellists. She hired a choir. She's like, I want this music to be beautiful. I want it to touch hearts. And I was going, whoa. I was like, whoa, she's an individual. I don't reign over her. And it was a beautiful thing to watch her. I mean, it was beautiful for me.
Yeah, I get to come into my own.
To come into her own and play and have this album. And she was proud of. It was an album, and it was beautifully done. It cost some money. But you know what?
It took 2 years.
It was like,
but
wow.
I did it right.
My wife is so talented. I would have never known. What if I would have just said, I didn't help that along? She would have just buried it. She might have buried it and just said, well, we just don't have the money. And, it's not that important.
Yeah, because us women we're not that important. That's just how Dan was raised Jehovah's Witness. I think I just said that, right? And it was the same thing in there. The women were not respected. Dan had to get coached by a woman that was older than him by 20 years or 30 years. And she just told him the woman's plight, their role.
Yeah, she goes, you go to work and you get a paycheck. And you get patted on the back. And you get thank you. And you get, wow, you do beautiful work. Well, your wife just picked up all your dirty socks and underwear and washed them and put them in a drawer, and you don't even acknowledge it.
And watch the kids all day long. Day long till you
all
got
day
home.
long, and the foods. And she said, Dan, it's thankless work. You can participate. You can help. You can help do some of this. And sure enough, we started sharing the load. Angela started doing her gifts.
Yeah, like Dan was saying, that his wife didn't get that daily communication with people out in the world. She was sitting home with the kids all day long doing, like you said, thankless work. And really, she wasn't getting to have that using your brain and creativity and, communication that makes you have a personality. You just start acting like a child because you talk to children all day long. It's all you ever see all day long.
You know what it's called? I'm going to just be blatantly open. It's called dying. If Angela or your wife can't express who they are, they start to die. Yeah. If you don't have a purpose, the people perish. It's the same with your wife or me. It could be the same way. She could not let me live my dreams. Maybe I have some dreams, things I want to do. But she was always for me. Write your book. Get your book written. I'll help you. I'll type it. And we did. We worked together. And then I got to see my name on the cover of a book. And I was an author. And so she had the same thing. But if we don't allow, if us authoritarians that grew up that way don't start seeing from the perspective from her, she doesn't get to live her dream. That's why you see a lot of women sad. When you go into people's homes, you see the women just in the back cooking and doing the menial tasks. I mean, she's getting some joy out of it. But
maybe
a lot of times she's dying a slow death. And that's why Oprah's show
resentments
again
even set
became so powerful.
Yeah. Because
she's saying, you women, my God, you're individuals.
Well, you guys, I would like to say that I just said to my husband, okay, so my first husband, I helped him put out 3 music albums. I was part of it. I said, hey, raise the add a French horn right there. Change that. Bring up the clarinet. Whatever, the trumpets. Bring the trumpets in. Bring some more the snare drum. Bring do all these changes to crazy. I named the songs in one of the album.
Design the covers.
Yeah,
I mean, you wrote for the school paper.
Took the pictures that we used for those covers of the albums. I mean, I was fully involved and vested in getting it put out. If it wasn't for me, it wouldn't be out.
That's right.
But did I think, I'd like to say that I just said, you know what, it's my turn now to Dan, and I think I want to do an album. No, That's not what happened. My first husband, he promised me that one day that I would be able to sing on his album, and one day after blah 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 and blah 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 and blah blah blah. 3 albums later, I still had done nothing at all that even looks like I did anything. And I hadn't done anything for myself at all. And then I married Dan, and it was the same kind of thing. I'm just always that background, person. But I like to say that I said, that's my turn now. But no, that's not what happened. My self-esteem was low enough that I didn't think that I was worthy. That's the truth. It wasn't just about the money. It was a self-esteem issue. It was a value issue.
But
he made
I had
sure.
had enough coaching from this woman who had been down this road, who had been nothing. And she taught me what to look for. So I started seeing, I said, wait a minute, what do you mean we can't afford to do an album? What are you talking about? Money comes when we need it. And she did. And you know what? She's got 2 more on the way.
Yes.
Now I'm scared.
Yeah, and I've written a book. And
Yes.
I realized that I wouldn't put it out because something was eating at me, and I've got to put one more half chapter in there because there's something that didn't quite fit right. And I need to fix it. So, but I'm going to make that change here. But it's for everyone else says it's done. They don't know that I have a little bit added
amazing
something.
book.
It is an amazing book, and it's talking about a lot of this stuff. How that you can get in touch with yourself. Like when we hold this stuff in, we kind of become unconscious of what's going on in the background of the training and the programs that are really running us, and we just sort of live a long life, and we're not really knowing what's really going on in the depth of us. And that affects who you are.
Kind of a life of suppression. You kind of
Yes.
die dead while you're alive. You're kind of going through the motions, but you're not fully alive.
No, you're not. You don't really know for sure what's going on in you. And that's something that you have to learn to do. And that's self-care is what that is. There's so many aspects to this codependency thing. But I want to give you another example of how this might work, okay, in codependency. Let's just say that you're a guy. You're Dan. And Dan's got to go, and he's got to see Dad, who drinks a lot of beer. Now, Dan's dad did not drink a lot of beer, but let's just say that was a situation. And Dan's thinking, man, I've been going to AA now for 3 months. I haven't had a bit of beer, and I quit. I quit alcohol, and I'm so proud of myself. But he's got to go see Dad. Dad's itching to see him. Where you been, boy? You need to get over here and see your dad. So he gets over there, and he knows it's going to be an issue because Dad just always hands you a beer and sit down, boy. We're going to watch the football game or whatever they're watching, right? And so he does, and sure enough, Dad offers him a beer. No, Dad, I'm good. Well, what's wrong with you? You're not feeling good, boy? Like, no, Dad, I'm feeling fine. I just don't want a beer. Well, why not? What's going on here? Joe, go get him a beer, And it's like, no, Dad, no. So good job. He said no. That's a good start, right, Dan?
Yep.
But then Dad starts badgering him. Now he starts thinking, what, do you think you're better than us? What's going on here? Well, Dad, I'm going to AA. I'm quitting alcohol. What? Well, what do you think? You're better than us or something?
How dare you?
How dare you? What's wrong with you? So what's going on in the dad's mind is, oh, so you're suggesting that I'm an alcoholic and I need to go to AA too. How dare you? And you think you're better than us, and this goes on. So then he's demoralized. He's codependent because he's wanted to quit for a long, long time. But Dad would never have it. Even when he tried to without saying anything and not going to AA, he couldn't get out of it. People are not happy in the family when you decide to quit drinking. So he is codependent on his dad. He's worried about what Dad thinks. He doesn't want to rock the family boat. He doesn't want to upset the apple cart. Family gets mad when you do that. They just do. But he did it. He got through the day. He left. But now when he has the time to come back to the family gathering again the next time around, he's got to be doubly prepared. He's going to have phone numbers in his wallet to call the minute he gets out of the house. He's got to have an exit plan and know when the moment is that he's going to exit, and kind of have an idea in his head how it's going to go. He's got to have plans now, because otherwise he's not going to make it. The codependency will take over, and he's going to just collapse. He's going to say, "Oh, just give me a beer then," and it'll be the end of it. But you
Dad's
guys,
going to knock him upside the head and
Yeah.
say, "What were you thinking, boy?
yeah,
You're not better than our family."
No, it's not going to get better. It ends up a lot of the time, guys, that we have to say, "To thine own self be true. I matter. My feelings matter. What I desire matters. This abuse is not okay with me. No, do not talk to, that's a boundary. I don't want to talk about alcohol anymore." He's going to have to really come up with some really creative plans. And if they don't stick, we have to make our boundaries stick. That's the other thing. Okay, so when with my mother, I set boundaries, and she walked over those boundaries, and she walked over those boundaries, and she walked over those boundaries, and I'd repeat them. I'd get louder. But it didn't work, did it, Dan?
No.
No, my mother was going to have it her way, no other way, or the highway. It was like there was no saying no to my mother. So I said, Mom, if you don't listen to me, and you don't respect and honor my wishes, that you don't talk about religion with me, then I'm going to have to cut you off. I'm going to have to cut, I just won't answer the phone. That's just what we're going to have to do. And she went right ahead and did it again anyway. And she wasn't going to quit. So I had to cut her off for a while. And boy, did that make her mad. And then comes, already in the beginning stages, it's cut Angela off. Don't call her when there's family get-togethers.
Withhold.
Don't let her know that there's a birthday going on until the last second. And then call when we're already there all together and say, where are you, Angela? We're here waiting. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Oh, dear, I'm sorry. I thought I left you a message about that. Games, cruel games. This is the kind of thing they do to you. But you know what? I have to say something. It is so worth it. I am so glad I'm standing up for me, because had I not, first of all, I wouldn't have a good relationship with Dan. Number two, never would have written a book, never would have done an album, would have never done the things that God put me on this earth to do. Do you know that? Because I'm just keeping myself squashed down. Because Angela's she's always been kind of the stupid one in the family. She's kind of slow, and they make fun of me. I'm the oldest. But this is the kind of treatment, because
they call those relationships with mothers and stuff that don't have boundaries, they call them toxic relationships. They bring you down. When people tell you you're stupid, or you're inadequate, or you dummy, or she's kind of slow, or whatever they called me that. But those are toxic relationships.
Yeah.
And they bring you down. And like you said, you don't hang out with that. You want to hang around with people who build you up.
Absolutely. It's a must. So what ends up happening, guys, I hate to tell you this, but you end up standing up for yourself, which is a good thing. And you end up not enabling their behavior. Enabling their behavior means that you're supporting their behavior to mistreat, like the father in the alcohol family situation. It's mistreating. It's enabling his abusive behavior towards you for making a good choice. And you have to cut these things off. You have to say no. You have to choose to not go to the family gatherings, except for maybe for a short visit at Thanksgiving. You limit it, and you train them how you want to be treated. And if they, it's like, well, Dad, I'm just going to be here for a short time, and they'll get it. They'll get it. You just have to kind of teach them how you want to be treated. And if they don't reciprocate, you just don't go there that Thanksgiving. You got to train them how you want to be treated. Yep. And I think I've managed to do it. Truth be told is that I've had to cut off my family for the most part because of the toxic relationships and the not allowing, not respecting.
It's like the old saying, what is it? A prophet's not welcome in his own city.
Town, yeah.
And Tolle had to go through that. Eckhart Tolle, they never saw him different. His family saw him as just an outcast, someone that sits on park benches. He won't go to school. He won't get this education. He won't be a doctor. So they labeled him as crazy. And we know Eckhart Tolle went on to write some great books. Well, that can happen in any family, right?
Absolutely, Dan. And so, guys, I just want to tell you that I am so glad to be out of the Worldwide Church of God. When I look at my family, especially the ones that are still absolutely in it. My mom and my brother, oh man, devastation in my way of looking at it. And I am so grateful to God that I'm not in that, nor in the second cult. That's one that almost killed me off. I don't know if you know this, but when you've been in a cult, you usually cult hop, means you're so used to not thinking for yourself and having your own opinions, and you bypass the thinking, logical frontal lobe part of you. You just straight to the belief system that you've been trained to believe. You don't even think about what it is that you're believing and why it might not be a good idea, or some other ways to look at it. Like, for example, in Dan's church, we have this idea of this blood doctrine. You're not allowed to take blood. And so thousands, and I don't know, maybe millions of people have died because they go to the hospital having a baby, or they get in an accident and they're not allowed to take blood. And they have blood, like legal liaison people that are there to guard the door to make sure you don't take the blood. So my question is, how come nobody, after all these years this church has been in existence, all these years, no one ever came up with the idea that maybe you could draw your own blood ahead of time, knowing that you were going to have that surgery, or knowing that, something was coming up that you might need the blood. No one had the thought of mind that you should go draw your own blood so you could give your own blood to yourself, because they thought it was unclean and
should be almost mandatory.
Right.
Since you don't take anybody else's blood, it should be mandatory that you put a couple pints away for yourself.
Right. But no elder thought of that, and no congregant ever thought of it, ever. And I'm like, why? Why? It's because the belief system, the thinking mind, the common sense was bypassed straight to the belief system. Well, we can't do that. No thinking ability came into mind to have thoughts about that maybe we should just put away that blood. Nor did any elder who had bad things in mind for the people, not caring for them at all. Not caring that their child, who was healthy just a moment ago, is going to be dead because they can't have blood because it's not pure. And what else, Dan? You could get syphilis diseases and maybe demonic, something about demonic and the whole thing. It's just unclean. Well, a husband and wife are one, and their children's blood came from them. Why could they not use that blood? They didn't even think of that, because they bypassed their brain and went to the belief system that was programmed. That's why this is so seriously important that you cult hop, okay? Because you're not used to thinking for yourself, so you go to another religion where they tell you what to do. They think for you. And so this is codependent too, because you don't know what you want, you don't know what you like, you don't know how you feel about certain things, you don't know how you believe. Well, I just, whatever they say, whatever he says. I don't have my own thinking. And this is a shame. We have this in the government. We have it in school systems. We have it everywhere. It's a real bad problem. So I just wanted to tell you what codependency was and have you get a little idea what it was all about. And just try to encourage you to stand up for yourself, stand up for the person that God made you to be, because that's valuable, and you are valuable, whether or not you believe that right now or not. And I hope that you rise above your circumstances, because we have to take responsibility for our own life. In every way, we have to take responsibility. No one's going to get it done for you. And I remember thinking to myself, that somehow they're going to show me they love me. They're going to save me. I'm dying. I know I'm dying. And I think that they're going to just somehow, it's going to, God and them, or they're going to help me somehow and make this right. And they're going to stop abusing me. Nope. And then one day it just hit me. Oh my gosh. They're content to let me die. They really are. They're content to let me die. Wow. And something just woke up in me. And I had this something that said, no, I want to live. And I thought, whoa, what was that? And later on, I realized it was something within, I think it's the Holy Spirit within your soul that was crying out of me saying, wake up, take responsibility for your life. I got things I need to get done through you, and I need you to wake up. No, we're not going to die. And I started making moves to live. That was what woke me up, that somehow depth of the heart of who I was that cried out, no. So I had to stand up for myself or die. That was the bottom line. Stand up or die. So I decided to live, and I started getting better. I didn't have any breasts at that time. Everything blossomed back out again, and I got 12-step classes and codependency classes and read lots of books and learned. It was painful, guys. Codependent No More by Melody Beattie, one of the best books I ever read. Yeah, changed my whole life. It was so hard. It was the best book and the hardest book ever to read because I hated it. Again, like the Boundaries book, it was like, this is so much like my family. It's like we have every codependent trait there is to have and worse, and we're toxic on top of it. I didn't want to see it, but I made myself read that book. I would not go to sleep till I read one chapter, and my body wanted to go to sleep and just pretend that it was not so. I didn't like that book, but I knew I needed it, and I studied it, and you know something? I got better. And so that's what happened to me. Like I said, my dad worked for the presses there in Pasadena, California, and I went to Imperial Elementary School, but I escaped, and I'm so glad I did, and I don't get into cults anymore. I've learned how to not cult hop, and anybody can. You just got to grit your teeth and say no more. Right. So anyway, that's it. That's the codependent introduction. I'll be talking more about it in the future in depth on certain aspects of it, and I hope that you like this video. Dan, you got anything more to say?
Nope, I think
Okay.
you covered it real well.
All right. Thanks, guys, for listening. I want you to know that I think you're awesome, and there are amazing things that you have to give to this world, and I hope you give it forth. All right.
That's right.
Good night, and thank
Good
you for
night.
listening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.